Hi, today I would like to tell you about two people who at some point in their lives somehow had an idea to marry a prisoner. But we won't talk about regular felons, we will talk about crazy serial murderers who actually made someone at some point in their lives marry them. Ted Bundy was a convicted serial killer who committed a minimum of 30 murders in only 4 years of his career. His victims were mostly young ladies of whom he gained trust by lying and playing a charming guy. After being captured in 1975, he managed to escape prison twice, just to get caught 3 years later for good. During his trial, where he was sentenced to death, he used a gap in Florida's law which allows you to propose in front of a judge and ask the witness, who was also his former co-worker, to marry him. Surprisingly, a lady named Carol Ann said yes.
Carol, do you want to marry me? I want to marry you. How do you want to marry me?
And although conjugal visits weren't allowed in prison, 1 year later she gave birth to their daughter. Bundy was executed 9 years later, and the whereabouts of his ex-wife and his daughter are unknown until today. Have you ever heard about Manson's family? One of its members, Susan Atkins, has managed to get married twice after being sentenced to death, which then changed to life imprisonment in 1971. Atkins was caught after taking a part in 8 murderers, including the notorious murderer Sharon Tate and her friends in the late 60s. After a few years spent in prison, she married a fraud named Donald Lee just to find out he was together with another 35 women already and planned on further marriages. She then cancelled the whole thing and moved into another guy. Her next husband was an even more ridiculous case because he was Harvard Law graduate who also represents her later in her parole hearings. James Whitehouse stayed with his inmate wife until her passing in 2009. I don't know the reasons behind those crazy decisions of these people, but before we look for any romantic cause, let's not forget about victims who lost their lives without a reason. They lost their lives although they didn't deserve it. Please do not forget about them.